afternoon nationwide. Happy to bring you a kind of in our series of kind of COVID industry impact. We're just trying to talk with some of our key appliance suppliers and understand kind of how that's affecting their business. Today, we're joined by Ben Liebert and TJ Stoffer from Electrolux. Hey guys.
Hey, how are you, PJ?
Couldn't be better.
Good to see you, Patrick. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for welcoming me into your homes, I guess. Is that where you guys are?
Yeah, this is not our office. You see the lovely Purdue paraphernalia on the back wall here that I get razzed from daily by TJ. But yeah, we're working from home. Been working from home for about 4 weeks now, finishing up our 4th week.
Right.
And better than many, our corporate headquarters in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I'm living very, very close to Charlotte. I'm actually in South Carolina, right across the border.
Okay. And TJ, you haven't run back to Iowa or anything, right?
No, it's been tempting, but yeah, hunker down in here in Charlotte, the better side of Charlotte, the north side, up in the Lake Norman area. So yeah, happy to have you and coming remote from a home bedroom office to try and keep the little ones out while I can.
Yeah. That's what I say too. This is the main office for guest room, But hey, it's quiet. We're getting it done. Yeah. So, I know you guys obviously have done some things as an organization, and we just kind of wanted to talk about, how COVID-19 has affected Electrolux, kind of short term, midterm, and then, talk a little bit about what the future looks like. So, could you guys share with us a little bit on kind of how this COVID outbreak has affected you guys, in your day-to-day operation?
Yeah, TJ, I'll take the first swing here and add in any color that you think is relevant. But I think we all know this is impacting everyone in a big way. I think a lot of the actions that we're taking aren't going to be necessarily unique. I know we're all doing a lot of reading these days. Any kind of information, learning, education we can get our hands on to find out best practices, and there's no shame in copying right now as we see other companies, other manufacturers taking actions. But we started this journey almost probably 60 days ago or longer. And Patrick, you and I spoke about it on the very front end of this. Electrolux has the benefit of being a large global corporation. We do businesses in almost 150 different countries and substantial business in Europe, substantial business in Latin America and Brazil, and substantial business in Australia, New Zealand, and Asia. And so, we used a lot of the market intelligence we had with our teams sitting on the ground in Asia, in ground zero, to learn about this virus very early on. And I know, Patrick, from our conversation early, we started talking about it, before you really knew what coronavirus was and how it was going to impact the U.S. And honestly, we didn't know either, but we got planning very, very early, started our planning efforts. And so, our North American salaried workforce is essentially all working remote from their home office or their home. We've been doing that for over 4 weeks. And even our call center in Augusta, Georgia, we have a 500-member call center or employee call center in Augusta. And we've moved that entire operation remote in a matter of about 10 days. And so you think about some of the major transformations that all of our businesses are going through during this times. In 10 days, we were forced to figure out how to operate a consumer and customer call center 100% remote. And to be honest, it's going fantastic. We've had no issues. But as most companies are thinking about this, safety is number one. It has to be. I don't think that's unique to Electrolux, but I think we need to first take care of our employees, and that includes our sales team, but it also includes our blue collar workers who are working in our factories across North America. It includes our technicians who are going into consumers' homes, and it includes our consumers. The consumers that we engage with and interact with, like in an environment like a technician going in to fix an appliance. And so we've taken a number of actions, around safety as it relates to those areas. For example, in our factories, we firmly believe that, we can produce products and keep our teams safe without shutting factories down. we've taken some preemptive measures to close factories to get those environments ready to do that. So we've taken several days out of a lot of our factories, and we've social distanced all of our employees in those factories. That's sometimes difficult in a factory that's old or older, where the workstations are very close. And so we're using plexiglass dividers to divide the workstations. Sometimes in some examples, we're even using, clear shower curtains on wires so that we can move them around and keep the workstation safe. All the disinfecting protocols you might imagine. The cafeteria tends to be an area where people congregate. So you have to think about how you feed people very differently when people come in for their shift change and when they leave their shift change. You really have to rethink everything, every part of your daily life that you almost take for granted, and just really rethink that process. So those are a few of the areas. I'll close and let TJ give his opinion here. But one of the last ones is, our technicians, as they enter the home to make sure that our appliances are working. I think we all know that appliances are essential right now. Consumers need appliances. 60 to 75,000 of these things break, each week and day. And so, if you're a consumer that needs a refrigerator during these tough times, they really depend on us to be open and be producing. And then as they break, unfortunately, that happens from time to time. How do we make sure that the consumer is comfortable with a stranger coming in their home? And we've set up a really detailed protocol where we text and email and call before we arrive to make sure everyone's healthy in the home and no one's symptomatic. There's a very strict disinfecting techniques that we use with the tools, social distancing in the home, gloves and PPE. And so far, we're getting really, really fantastic feedback from our consumers saying how appreciative they are of the measures that we're taking. So those are a few examples that we're using and implementing as we adapt to this new world that we're all living in.
Yeah, that's great. And it's funny is, so, TJ, your kind of organization, your piece of the organization, they're kind of used to working remotely, right? So what, Ben, you're describing is, taking businesses that had been traditionally office-based and trying to get them ramped up quick. And it's amazing how fast people can adapt to these challenges and changes. So I'm proud to hear and happy to hear that you guys have been able to do that on so many different levels. So TJ, on your side, so for the sales organization, like I said, they're used to working at home, but they're also used to being on the road and seeing dealers. How is that interaction with dealers? How are you finding, are the sales guys getting the time with our members, and is there anything we can do to help that?
Yeah, I think it's a great point, and it's amazing. Within the history of Electrolux, digital tools have never exactly been our core competency, and it's been pretty eye-opening to a lot of our sales teams as we have all these great digital tools with video conferencing, shared drives, different Teams applications, and so the teams really embrace that well, and they are used to working remote, but they're also used to being on the road and interacting at a high touch point with owners, buyers, and really the retail sales floor. The last 3 feet is really what keeps this business turning and really touches the consumer quite a bit. And so, we kind of have a new roadmap to digital sales calls that all the region managers have implemented with their teams. And it's been really great. We've been on a lot of video calls with members. I know, Ryan Schwady with his buy group team has been interacting with Doug and Patrick Yu on a go forward basis weekly to say, what's the pulse of the business? What's happening in different regions, and then what are the members saying, and how do we want to react to that? But been really impressed with how people have adapted to the new digital way of staying connected, and really appreciate Ben and Nolan, our CEO, too, have been very transparent on building a plan, and the worst thing that can happen in a crisis is to have no plan and wondering what you're going to do. And we've been very transparent and had an all call here earlier this week and said, here's some different scenarios on how this thing can play out and what it looks like coming out of it. And here's what we're going to do. And we're very confident in a plan. And that just brings some stability to the organization. So,
yeah, that's great. That's good information for, our members to hear as well. Ben, you're right. We did talk a lot about COVID, when it was a kind of something happening in China, and we thought it was going to affect, parts and accessories and some of that, and may have a little hiccup in the supply chain. Obviously it's now a global pandemic, and that thought has changed, but I think there's still, a lot of concerns and worries about what the, impact to inventory levels, look like, and how you guys are kind of mitigating that. I will say this, that, business in Q1 was pretty solid, right, as an industry. But I think, our members are now going, okay, what's next? Now we're entering, to your point, the fourth week of kind of this lockdown, and what comes next. We saw some spikes in laundry and freezers, refrigeration, but, how are you guys positioned from an inventory standpoint, taking all of this into consideration going forward?
Yeah, that's a big one, and we're spending a lot of time on that one. And it's interesting. This virus is really, or this crisis in general, has really tested our agility. The ability to receive new information and then pivot or change course. And Nolan and I and TJ, all as we talk about how this thing has evolved, we always kind of, we're astonished when you look back 30 days ago and the topics we were discussing and the emails we were sending and the PowerPoints we were presenting. They're almost obsolete at this point. They don't even matter. Everything's so changed so much. And on that evolution, Patrick, initially, we start thinking about just what you said, source goods, OEM goods, and trim kits that are coming from the Asia market or the Asia region. And then, phase two really was, okay, we do source some components. Everybody does, from China. A lot of the tariff mitigation activities that we have been working on the last 2 years, ironically, prepared us to not be overweighted in our dependence on China. So that was a big help that we didn't know, we had instilled into our business. So we were thinking a lot about components. One component can shut an entire factory down, and that's a little scary. And then we started shifting to, okay, if this gets bad like it did in Asia and like it is in Europe right now, specifically in Spain and Italy and France and the UK, consumers aren't really going to want to buy. They're not going to be able to run out to their local dealer and buy an appliance. So what do we think is going to happen to demand, and as it relates to having the right things in the right place? And then it shifted into, oh my gosh, we have a confirmed case in a factory, and now we have to shut the factory down and make sure our employees are safe.
Right. And
so there's these four phases that, unfortunately, we weren't quite thinking about phase 4 60 days ago when you and I spoke, and that the speed at which the conversation changed was dramatic. And I think it's been a really good lesson in managing a business through crisis and making sure your teams are agile and your communication is good. And so as it relates to inventory planning, it's been tricky. As I said earlier, we firmly believe we can create a safe environment for our factory workers. So that's step one. We have to do that to ensure that they feel comfortable coming to work every day. We launched something last week called Hero Pay for all of our employees working in our factories, which basically says, yes, we are asking you to come to work. We know you're concerned, and we value you as an employee and what you do, and the fact that you are delivering essential goods to the U.S. economy and the Canada economy. And so that's been very well received with our factory workers, this Hero Pay. And so I think in order to have this continuity as this crisis, potentially gets worse over the coming weeks, we want to be able to have a continuity of supply and be dependable. But certainly as we make these changes in the factory, as we space out the workstations, as we start to be very mindful of how people engage in the factory, it impacts your output. So supply is impacted, and we're all watching the news and seeing these emails daily from our competitors and from Electrolux as well. This is public information. We've had about 5 confirmed cases in several different factories, and thankfully, very early on, we said, here's the protocol. When we get a positive case, not if, but when, here's exactly what we're going to do. And we communicated that plan to our workers before it happened. So, they felt comfortable that we had a plan. And so, generally speaking, I will say, I don't think this is anything that's private. This is public information. The refrigeration and freezer products, there's high demand in the market. You can look at AHAM and see that, or TrackLine, and see that there's a high demand. I think consumers preparing for shelter in place and home quarantines and wanting that extra space. I think also my opinion is you're starting to see consumers, now that they're spending a lot of time in their home, they're getting very familiar with that old cooking range that they have had for quite some time, and now thinking a little bit differently about replacing it. And so what I would say, to get back to your question, I'm rambling here a little bit, on inventory, is it's a challenge for sure, especially in refrigeration products. But all of our factories are going to be building products, so expect fulfillment behind that. And then I think generally speaking, outside of refrigeration, inventory position very, very good right now throughout our RDCs and in our factories.
Yeah, I was glad, and it's actually I'm happy you kind of went through that, because understanding that there's confirmed cases and that you guys, it's still you've taken the kind of you put the protocol or steps in place to kind of mitigate that, and you're still able to produce is an important piece, certainly for the independent retailers. And then I'm very happy you said that RDC thing at the very end, because as we look at at any time there's a crunch on inventory, it feels like, hey, if you got a big order, you get the product. And I know you guys have done a great job at kind of managing that inventory and not sending it all to one customer and trying to, spread that around. So I'm happy to hear you comment on the RDC availability.
Yeah, and I would add one thing there. I think just it's like a little asterisk is it's the speed at which this continues to change. By the time this video is posted, it's one of those, we risk the chance of it being completely obsolete, the information. But I would tell you that what doesn't change with us is the process. And so we have morning huddles at 7:30. I think my team, and TJ included, is probably getting a little tired of having coffee with me at 7:30 in the morning over a video chat. But and we review inventory. What do we have? Where is it? Where are we low? Where do we need to think about resupplying? And so there is this balancing act of making sure we have the right products in the right RDCs at the right time. And then we have to be mindful of just the support for our dealers. TJ, we've given TJ the autonomy to come forward and say, hey, I have dealers in this region, or I have this dealer that needs help, and we put somebody on it. And so we try to be very reactive and localized, as opposed to this, this big company that's just pushing inventory to one customer or through factory direct only.
Right. Yeah. TJ, we want to continue to see you raise your hand more often for product.
Oh yeah. Trust me. I'm not on mute very often.
Good. I'd like to hear that. And so, you talk about digital. We've talked internally about how, this crisis is going to change probably the way we do business as a group. And I think it's probably going to change, how the industry does business. I think we're finding that it can be a lot more can be done digitally, remotely, all of those things. And I think, our members are finding out, that digital is at this time is more important than anything. We've been talking about it for, a few years. How have you guys seen kind of digital impact, the sales, from other, parts of your business? So whether it's website, digital.
Yeah, I think, it's been a journey for digital side of marketing, I think, over the last few years, and our marketing department's done a really nice job, not only from a branded perspective, but also, trade marketing. And, today we don't sell direct. And so our path to the consumer is through our channels of distribution. And the independent dealer channel, one of the core things that dealers are good at is being very agile and reactive. And so, we immediately put together some digital assets and content, worked with our team at Nationwide as well. And we got tremendous activation very quickly. And so that really resonated very well. And so if you look at how digital has even changed, a lot of paid search and display. Now it's consumers trying to find where can they even get appliances if they need it. And at the same time, a lot of it's awareness around dealers that are open and social media, not only where they're open, but what safety precautions are dealers and in-home deliveries and whatnot taking. And so, it's safety and availability of where can they actually get the product that is essential that they need. And so that's been really, really cool. Great collaboration with our marketing team. And the other thing that, Ben touched on before is, this new reality is connecting families and people in really a tremendous way, and eliminating a lot of distractions. But, the activities that are going on in the home, whether it be, cleaning with Electrolux laundry and sanitization, we did some nice digital assets and content around that. Dishwashers, the best way to clean a great cleaning dishwasher or dishes is in the dishwasher, and sanitization as well. And so consumers not only need product out of essential, but they also are becoming bigger parts of their lives. And so if you look at what, Ben used to be in product line, and what they started back then was the whole product roadmap of working with consumer insights and marketing to say, what do consumers desire in products? And so we've been doing a lot of content around, hey, how can we make your experience in your kitchen better, whether it be cooking or cleaning or even storage flexibility and refrigeration with our brand new 4-door that came out, and we're launching the Pro 4-door, is really consumer relevant product. And so that's been really fun to activate with dealers, kind of something to get our minds off all the negative news and say, okay, how can we make our lives better now that we're sheltered in place?
Right. Yeah, and I like that, and it kind of segues into what I wanted to chat a little bit with you guys about too. So, Ben, you mentioned it, right? So, potentially consumers went out into the market and bought a freezer or an extra refrigerator to kind of get through this crisis, but now they've been, in their homes for 4 and 5 weeks, and they're saying, well, you know what? Maybe I should have got a range, should I got this?
Mm-hmm.
And we certainly don't. We don't know how long this is going to last, but what can we do collectively, and what's your kind of view on how do we, when we come out of this, what types of promotions or activity can we put in place, not only to drive foot traffic and create some want in the industry, but also to satisfy kind of the independent retailers' need for inventory and quick turns and all of those things. What are you guys thinking about kind of what the future looks like for the immediate future for promotional activity?
Yeah, I can provide my thoughts, and I'd be interested to hear TJ. He's really more plugged in with the details. But I think the first is, and this is not just for our approach with the buying group, with you and your dealers, mm-hmm. but I think it's for all of us, including the dealers. About 30 days ago, so after we felt like we had good process and protocol, one thing we started talking about as a team, as a leadership team at Electrolux with our sales leaders is, this old adage of, you never let a crisis go to waste. And so it's the opportunity to crystallize your team, bring your team together, think about the future. And the one thing we've started chatting about is transformation. And so if you go back in time and look through these big recessionary periods or these times of crisis, the financial crisis of 07 and 08, 9/11, and then the dot-com crisis, and you start saying, business dramatically changes after you go through those types of events. And it's mostly around consumers. Once consumers adopt a new way of doing things, they don't go back to the old way. And the reference point I used was, think about the family who's been using DirecTV or cable forever that decided to try Hulu because they've been sheltering at home, and now says, I'm never going back to DirecTV or cable, and you start to adopt a new lifestyle. I think that's something that we all are going to have to think about. What are the new behaviors that consumers exit this crisis as new habits, so to speak, and how do we tap into those? I think one example is freezers. The freezer business is, according to AHAM and Trackline, has been declining for a lot of years. Right. And if you look at the freezer business now, it's on fire. But if you look at the freezer business in past recessions, same thing, very, very strong. And so what is this? What is this that happens during these periods where the consumer gets reconnected with making sure they have enough food in the home to take care of their family? I think since we're all sheltering in place, we're not eating out as much as we once were. And so what are those behaviors? And so how do we unlock experiences together around taste, ease of cooking, sanitization? I think those are going to be really intriguing opportunities for storytelling. We talked about this at the Buying Group show when we did the video chat, is why we love our relationship with you and with the dealers so much is because of the storytelling. It's unique to this channel, and no one does the storytelling better than our dealers with your support. And so I think what better place to activate storytelling around preserving freshness, food storage, all the things that TJ talked about. So I think those are the areas where we certainly are going to need help telling the story of how great the experience is with our appliances.
Great.
Yeah, I think Patrick, just to add to that is this is a term that's been used a lot in social media, on TV, is we're in it together, and we really need to get through it together too. I mean, Electrolux needs a healthy independent dealer channel when we get through this, and we will get through it. And at the same time, I think the independent dealer channel and companies like Nationwide need a healthy Electrolux too. So, a lot's happening, a lot of things moving, but we've been staying really close to customers and collaborating with you guys of the needs of independent dealers, and the needs of consumers are changing. So, to continue with the same type of promotions and investments probably doesn't make the best business sense. And so, we're staying close to the market and understanding how we want to promote through this short term, and then long term. Electrolux, we want to play offense and get aggressive. So we have very aggressive plans. We got some really good ideas as we come out of this to really hit the ground running. And on a production side of things, I know that our supply chain and manufacturing team is looking forward to getting through this as well and running. I mean, factories love to run, and that's been a good thing that Electrolux has done in the past. So short term, it's going to be some adjustments. I think all companies. The responsible thing for business is to look at cash and cost and how do you become more efficient, and we're doing the same thing, and we want to do that in collaboration with our members and our customers and you guys to say, okay, how do we need to make sure that independent dealers are healthy and strong after this, and how do we ensure that Electrolux is healthy and strong after this, because we got some really cool stuff coming, and we're not stopping that. We're just managing through the current situation.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it's great. And like I said, I think the opportunity for, our partnership and that of independent retailers to come out of this stronger than we went into it is huge. And I think the closer we're aligned, the more opportunity we have to, come out of this thing at a full sprint instead of kind of, just a jog. And I think, our teams will work tirelessly with your teams to make sure that we're aligned. I think it's going to be an evolution, right? I think initially, maybe it's not, I need this great package rebate, but maybe it's, hey, I just need inventory. I just need, an inventory guarantee. And maybe it's taking, select groups of products to say, hey, we're always going to be in stock on this, and kind of continuing on what you guys have done, because who knows what this bounce back is going to look like. Is it going to be a hockey stick, or is it kind of going to be slow? And so I think we need to have, plans in place, as partners to kind of address either one of those. And to your guys' point, it's changing every day. So the more I think we can be in communication, and the more we can kind of work together to plan, I think the better off we'll be coming out of this.
Yep, I agree, Patrick. And if you look at how consumers have changed, I think that's going to shape how the independent dealer channel, how Nationwide works with them, how they work with us. And I think we can all probably agree on that doing everything that we used to do probably isn't the best path forward. And so how do we create a new path forward that really helps us accelerate the marketplace? And it's all about the consumer. And so we've had a big shift. I know you and your members have had a big shift to, consumer trends and consumer insights. And I think if we can align programming, promotion, merchandising, consumer relevant innovation, that's really the success to winning in the future.
That's great. Awesome. Well, guys, if there's anything else you'd like to add, I mean, I think you guys covered a lot of it. If there's any other efforts that you have that you want to talk about, but it feels like you guys have your, hands around this as well as anybody can. They are difficult times. So we truly appreciate you guys taking the time, to join us today and kind of get your message out. And again, the more connected we are, I think the better, we're going to be coming out of this. So let's stay connected through this whole thing. I appreciate your time today, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Thanks, Patrick.